Before I tell you these stories, I need to be honest. They still creep me out. I lived in Seattle for a while. It was nice, for a time. But something about the woods up there, the fog, the quiet that doesn't feel empty? Yeah, I'm glad I left. And once you hear what happened out there, you might not want to go back either. Remember that movie Goonies? I loved that movie as a kid, always wanted to find a map in the attic, sneak through caves, discover something no one else had. Well, I got my wish. Only the place we found wasn't treasure. It was something someone had burned down for a reason. It started with a post on a dead Facebook group for local hikers. Grainy photo. Burned out cabin deep in the Hollow Creek Reserve. Off trail, no markers. The caption just said, "Only 3 walls left. The fire never spread. Tell me that's not weird." My buddy Caleb sent it to me with a text. "This is the one. Let's go this weekend." I said yes before I even thought about it. I just wanted the story. We hiked out early that Saturday, no real trail, just compass and gut. 3 of us, me, Caleb, and Nate. After a couple hours, we found it. Except, it wasn't burned down, not like the photo. The walls were still blackened, yeah, but half the cabin was rebuilt. Fresh wood, new nails, a window with glass. No one had been out there in years, no road access, no ranger station, no permit. We stepped inside, that's when we saw it. A list, handwritten, nailed to the wall. Arrivals, June 12th. Caleb, Nate, me. The date? Tomorrow. We didn't speak for a minute, just stared at the paper. It had our full names, first and last. Same handwriting, same pen, fresh nails. Nate was the first to break the silence. "You wrote this, right? This is a prank." I didn't even respond. I was too busy looking at the bottom of the list. There were more names. After hours, 4 more. Blank lines beneath them, like space for others. Caleb pulled the list off the wall, flipped it over, nothing on the back. I was already scanning the room for signs of someone else. There were no bags, no food, but there was a cot, fresh sheets, a mug, half full, still warm. We didn't say it out loud, but we all felt it. This place wasn't abandoned anymore. We agreed to leave, but before we stepped out, Nate noticed something behind the wood stove. A little black box, plastic, taped shut. Inside, a tiny USB drive. We didn't open it there, we were already spooked, but we didn't want to leave without it either. We made it back to the car by dusk. Nobody said much on the hike back. We were all thinking the same thing. Who built that cabin back up? Who knew our names? And what was on that drive? That night, Caleb plugged it into his laptop. One folder. Holocam feed inside. Videos. Each one labeled with a different date. Most were just static or forest shots. Empty trail, no people, just wind and trees, until the last one. Dated tomorrow. File name, arrival3.mp4. He clicked play. It was us, walking into the cabin. The angle was high, maybe a camera hidden in the rafters. We watched ourselves walk in, look around, find the list, react exactly the way we had just reacted. Then came something we hadn't seen. From the shadows in the far corner, someone else stood up, wearing a mask, head tilted, watching us. And then, the screen cut to black. We never went back to Hollow Creek, but sometimes when I close my eyes, I see that corner of the cabin. And I wonder, what happened after the video cut off? Because whatever it was, the footage knew it was coming. Remember those hiking stories your dad used to tell? The ones that started with a sunset and ended with some weird noise in the trees? I used to roll my eyes at them, until I went out to Ridgeway Trail and saw the lantern for myself. I'd been solo hiking for years. Washington trails. Nothing major, just stuff off the All Trails app. but this one wasn't listed anywhere. Ridgeway was one of those locals-only places. No signage, just word of mouth and a half-forgotten path. A guy I met at a trailhead told me about it. Said the views were killer, but the last half-mile gave him the creeps. Every time I've hiked it, he said, there's this light out in the trees, a lantern or something. Always in the same spot. Always swaying. I figured it was someone camping. Maybe a ranger post. He just shook his head. There's no ranger up there anymore. He didn't say anything else. Naturally, I had to check it out. I loaded up and hit the trail early the next day. It was foggy, dense, low-hanging mist the whole way in. By the time I reached the halfway point, my cell service was gone. Standard. I'd brought a GPS, compass, all that. I wasn't worried, but the deeper I went, the quieter it got. No birds, no wind, just my boots crunching wet pine needles. And then, exactly where the guy had said, I saw it. A flickering yellow light through the trees, swaying, like someone holding a lantern walking just out of sight. I called out. Hello? No answer. I stepped off the trail to get a closer look, maybe 20 yards in, and the fog swallowed me up. But the light stayed, same distance ahead, same slow sway. Then it stopped. I raised my phone to take a video, but the screen stayed black. Not dark, black, like the lens was covered. I looked up, no light, just trees. I turned around to head back to the trail, but the trail was gone. I kept calm, or at least I tried to. I knew if I panicked, I'd burn energy and lose direction. So I pulled out my compass, set a straight line, and started moving. I figured I'd hit the trail again eventually. I hadn't gone that far in, but the forest out there doesn't feel normal. Every tree looks the same. The air hangs heavy. The ground sucks at your boots like it wants you to stay. It took me almost 2 hours to find the trail again. Or maybe it wasn't the same trail, because when I came back into the clearing where I'd dropped my pack, my tent was zipped shut. And I hadn't zipped it. I stopped, listened. Nothing, not a footstep, not a breeze. Just the low hum of wind through branches too still to move. I walked up slowly, unzipped the tent. It was empty, but something was sitting on top of my sleeping bag. A notebook, old, leather-bound, damp like it had been buried and pulled up this morning. I opened it. No title, no name, just one page written in pencil. I tried to follow the light. I think it saw me. If you found this, don't go back into the trees. It already knows you're here. I sat there for a long time, trying to tell myself it was a joke, a plant, maybe from the guy I met at the trailhead. But there was no dust on the book, no trail prints, no signs of anything or anyone else around my tent. I packed up fast, hiked out even faster, didn't look back. But as I hit the trailhead, finally, my phone buzzed. One new photo saved to my camera roll. I opened it. It was blurry, but I knew what it was, my tent, taken from about 20 feet away. Before I got back, that was 3 weeks ago. I've deleted the photo, burned the notebook, but some nights I wake up and see a faint yellow light through the trees behind my house, swaying, like it's trying to remind me I saw it first. But now, it sees me. When I was a kid, I used to think radios could hear you back. Not just pick up your voice, but really hear you. Like, if you tuned just right, you'd find someone already listening. I hadn't thought about that in years, until we moved into the cabin and found a radio that only played one thing. It was supposed to be a reset. Fresh air, cheaper rent, time away from the noise. My wife Ellie and I moved out to an old rental cabin in coastal Washington, miles from the nearest town, tucked between evergreens and thick fog. The kind of place where the walls creak and you can hear every floorboard settle. We didn't mind, we liked the quiet. Until we found the radio in the basement. It was this old thing, analog, heavy, dusty, built like a brick. No power cord, just a crank and a big red dial. Ellie wanted to throw it out, but I couldn't. It felt heavy, like history, like memory, so I cleaned it up and set it on the windowsill in the living room. The weird thing? It only tuned to one station, Channel 7. At first, we figured it was just picking up some local tower. It played static most of the time, but sometimes, usually around 2 or 3 a.m., we'd wake up to it, whispering. A woman's voice. Calm, warm, reading something softly. At first, we thought it was poetry or stories. Then we listened closer. She was reading Ellie's journal, word for word. At first, Ellie thought I was messing with her, that I had found her journal and copied it, fed it into the radio somehow. But I hadn't, and what made her believe me was the next entry. It hadn't been written yet. We sat in silence, listening to her future, her thoughts before she'd had them, being read aloud by a voice neither of us recognized. It described things she was only starting to feel, doubts, memories, a nightmare she hadn't told anyone about yet. And then it ended with, "Tomorrow he'll find the door." The next day, I went back into the basement. I don't know why, I just felt drawn there. And that's when I noticed it. A rectangular outline in the concrete. A panel that didn't match the rest of the floor. I pried it open with a crowbar. Beneath it was a hatch and a ladder leading into darkness. I told Ellie we needed to leave immediately, but when we started packing, the radio turned on by itself. Channel 7. Same voice. This time, she wasn't reading. She was speaking directly to me. "Don't leave yet. You haven't heard the last entry." Ellie unplugged the radio. Didn't matter. It kept playing. If he leaves now, he'll never know who he really is. That voice wasn't warm anymore. It was waiting. We didn't sleep that night, just sat there waiting for the sun to rise. The next morning, we packed everything and left. We didn't even lock the place behind us. But before we pulled out of the driveway, I heard something from the passenger seat, the radio, still sitting in the back, still off, whispered, "We'll find you." That was 6 months ago. We've moved, changed our numbers. I even cut my hair, changed jobs, started therapy. But sometimes, late at night, I wake up to Ellie sitting in the kitchen, staring at the wall, and I swear, I can hear her whispering along with something. Like she's listening to something I can't hear. Like maybe Channel 7 never needed the radio at all. You ever hear the same story from two people who don't know each other? Same details, same timeline, but they swear they're talking about different people? That's what happened here in Pine Hollow. It started with a boy in the woods, and ended with an entire town pretending they'd never seen him. The first report came from an older woman walking her dog near Cold Fern Trail. Said she saw a kid, maybe 10 or 11, just standing at the tree line, facing her, wearing a red puffer jacket. She waved. He didn't wave back. She called out, no response. Then she blinked, and he was gone. A week later, a delivery driver saw the same thing. Boy in red jacket. Same spot, just watching. More sightings started coming in. Different times of day, different people, same description. Red coat, face hard to make out, never speaking, never moving. Always at the edge of the woods. Locals called him the Looker. Teenagers started daring each other to go find him. Some swore they did. Others said they followed him into the trees, but could never remember how far they went. That's when I got involved. I'm a teacher. 6th grade. One of my students, Ben, stopped showing up to school. His mom said he'd been having nightmares. Said he kept talking about the boy in the coat, asking to switch places. Ben didn't come back to class. His mom pulled him out completely, said they were moving downstate to be closer to family. I figured that was it, just another weird story in a small town, until 2 weeks later. A boy showed up outside the school, standing at the edge of the parking lot. Red puffer jacket, hood up. Face turned away. I thought it was Ben. I even called out to him, but he didn't move. I walked toward him, 20 feet, 10, 5. The closer I got, the more I realized something was off. The coat looked old, faded in spots, torn along the sleeve, like it had been buried for years. And the smell, wet leaves, iron, and something sour underneath. When I was within arm's reach, he turned his head, just enough for me to see part of his face. It wasn't Ben, it wasn't a child, and it wasn't smiling. I took a step back. He didn't follow, he just turned, walked across the grass and disappeared into the tree line without making a sound. Later that night, I went online, searched old newspaper archives. Missing persons in Pine Hollow, kids, red jackets, found one, date, 1997, name, Benjamin Archer. Last seen wearing a red puffer jacket. Next morning, a new student was added to my class. Shy kid, didn't talk much, name on the roll sheet, Ben Archer. Different last name than my student, same face, same wide, quiet eyes, same red jacket, washed, mended, zipped to the top. I asked the office where the transfer paperwork came from. They couldn't find any. They said the mom must have dropped it off in person, but no one remembers seeing her. Every afternoon now, I see him sitting alone at recess, facing the tree line, like he's waiting for someone to trade places with.